Hello and welcome. I'm Srinivasan and this is Talking Sense with Srini. Prime Minister Narendra Modi sounds poll bugle in the southern states of Tamil Nadu and Kerala, where he slammed the ruling establishments, pitching national democratic alliances as an alternative in the upcoming 2026 elections in both the states. Joining us to decode the Prime Minister's speech and the latest political developments is our editor-in-chief, Srinivasan. Okay, let me begin with you, sir. Prime Minister had back-to-back rallies, the one in Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala and the second one in the afternoon at Maduranthakam near Chennai, where the broader NDA coalition was in a way announced. How do you see that these events sort of, mark the beginning of the all-out political battle ahead of 2020 elections in both southern states?
Yeah, so these two states have been pretty important for BJP. And they have been trying for a while to, make their inroads, and they've been finding it difficult. But one should say that at least in Kerala, they have been growing steadily. Vote share was, in single digit, then they made double digit, 10%, and then in the last parliament election, actually they almost touched 20%. It's 19 point something. So it's pretty encouraging for them that they are slowly growing. But the number of seats in parliament election remain just one. So in this election, they probably would have expected better results, but I think somewhere they have lost the plot. It was very clear in the recent, local body elections. But they did well in only one urban, municipal corporation, which is actually the Thiruvananthapuram. That's the one, and they have their own mayor now. That's been enthusiastic, and it's a pretty credible win for them. Otherwise, in rest of Kerala, they didn't have a great success. So that's where the Kerala story stands. And as far as Tamil Nadu is concerned, again they've been finding it pretty tough. Though again in the last parliament election, they got a pretty good vote share on their own. They could cross double digits. It's about 11.4 or something. With partners, they could, do about 18%. So it's been a pretty good growth for them. But again, the seats eluded them. So this time they are very, they probably want to break that. And in assembly election, last time they got some seats, but they want to do better. So that's their ambition. So they probably think that by allying with AIDMK, it's a very broader coalition, that they would do better this time.
This couldn't be actually mainstream, but I still want to ask you this, because Prime Minister's itinerary seems to have prioritized Kerala first and then Tamil Nadu. Obviously, West Bengal and Assam seems to be the priority for the Bharatiya Janata Party, with Assam under their control already. So, should we read more into this? Is it they see more prospects of winning Kerala this time more than Tamil Nadu? Is it how it is?
Well, I won't say that. In fact, actually, Kerala, like I said, it's not been very good for them. Mm-hmm. They did better in parliament elections, but they couldn't keep the momentum, which is very clear in the way.
But they won Thiruvananthapuram.
Yeah, so they won, but the overall, the amount of success which UDF got over LDF, that's a major story. Of course, the media, projected as if they won entire Kerala, BJP, but it isn't like that. It's still baby step for them. The story there is LDF did pretty badly, and it's UDF led by Congress which did pretty well and convincingly well in the local body elections. So it's an interesting story developing there. NDA, of course, which is basically BJP there, is trying to make inroads in other urban bodies. So the strategy in the previous parliament election was, rather than spreading out all over the state, they just concentrated in 2-3 urban pockets. And out of that, they could win Thrissur, one place they won. That's the strategy it has been in the past. I don't know what is that they're doing right now. Whether they would concentrate like they have one urban body. So whether they would similarly do an exercise so that at least they get few seats, assembly seats from that region. I think that would be their effort. But if you go to other two formations, which is basically UDF and LDF, the fight is going to be really pretty close. That's how it seems, because last time also it was a pretty close election. The about 1.6% vote swing happened in favor of LDF, and LDF broke the, what's a kind of a turnstile, kind of a trend. trend which was happening there. Alternate, it was always last 50 years. Before that, it was either LDF or UDF. But for 2 consecutive terms, LDF is there. And Pinarayi Vijayan is certainly facing a lot of anti-incumbency. And, it will be really a record if he does very well for a 3rd term, which looks difficult because of anti-incumbency and other things. But on the other hand, why I said it's going to be a very tough fight, because I happen to say, decoder, there is, if you know that Pranav Roy has done he has done an analysis in which he is saying that, any any assembly election which happens immediately, or any election, assembly basically happening after local body elections, the advantage is for LDF. And he gave data to say that looking at 3 subsequent elections, that they got an average advantage of 5.2.
That's been a historical trend.
5.1% as against the gain of 1.4% by the UDF. So the gap between the two further narrows down the vote share. So that's what it is currently, but then it will really depend on how the Congress party and its allies manage to pull together and what kind of campaign they're able to mount in Kerala. So that's yet to be seen, because both, Priyanka Gandhi is right now MP from Wayanad. And earlier also Rahul was there, and they are familiar with that area. So whether they will pull in so that they make a success. But there are other issues within the party.
The chief ministerial phase and so on.
Aspirant. So there are, 3 aspirants basically. Ramesh Chanitala, V.D. Satishan and Venugopal. Venugopal, who is basically...
You're not including Shashi Tharoor on the list.
Shashi Tharoor, no way. He's it's already very clear that he's not even in the reckoning. Because he's been rebelling for a while now. So I don't think he has any... let's count him out. Out of these 2, Venugopal has expressed his desire that he may not be contesting, and he is not in the race. But you never know how it turns out later.
That's right.
So the how cohesive the alliance is, and within the basically how cohesive the Congress is in Kerala, is a big question. How they're able to take them together. But it's going to be quite a fight there.
Interestingly, Prime Minister talked about Nanni Thiruvananthapuram, his vision for Thiruvananthapuram after Bharatiya Janata Party won the mayoral elections there. He drew parallels between what has happened in Gujarat, in Ahmedabad in 1987. When BJP rose to prominence, it was not a mainstream party then, and later ruling the states for decades there. Does this historical positioning add up logically and strategically for the Bharatiya Janata Party in the state of Kerala as well?
Why he's trying to compare the two? Because that's the time when he actually was inducted from RSS into BJP, Narendra Modi, and that was his major first political assignment, where he was instrumental in BJP winning Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation. But then the background was prepared by the anti-reservation agitation which has been going on for some time in the 80s in Ahmedabad. So that's the advantage, and the cadres, RSS and BJP, basically it was RSS network who built the cadre, and that propped up a municipal corporation. And also the caste combination, what happened, Congress was more basing itself on what is called CAM, basically Kshatriya, Harijan and Muslims. That's the combination they had. As opposed to that, BJP was able to forge Patidars, Baniya, so basically Baniya would mean the business community and Brahmins, so the upper caste. So that's the combination which they had, and for the first time in the municipal corporation they did. But here the situation is very different. They could actually divide that, but in the demography in Kerala is very different. Hindus and the what is otherwise minority in other states, Muslims and Christians, nearly 48%. So the equation is pretty different, and there is no such ground level movement which has happened which might support BJP in Kerala. I think the two stories are pretty different. The ground reality is different.
It's like comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah, basically, but he is trying to enthuse the cadre by giving his own example how it was. So probably he was rethinking and how a blank slate like Gujarat was won, and the success started And then after that, they have been pretty successful in Gujarat. So probably he is trying to kind of transplant that his memories and influence the cadres here. Yeah.
Okay, so and also he attacked the LDF UDF collusion, what he calls the duopoly, and he pitches NDA as an alternative for the people of Kerala. So pitching his Viksit Kerala vision. But both LDF and UDF have got deep rooted cadres, right? So, but do you think the NDA can push itself as the alternative force here, at least in 2020 elections? Realistically speaking?
No, so like I said, BJP is in no position in Kerala to call itself as an alternate. So they are still trying to get a foothold in the state assembly. So I think it will be far-fetched to say, but yeah, in election rallies, a lot of rhetorics which are spoken. Again, the reality is pretty different. Like you correctly said, these are basically even Congress has some ground level, grassroots level formation there, which normally doesn't have in other states. Otherwise, it's a party of leaders, but there they have actually a following. And, LDF is a cadre-based party. Also, the demography is pretty different. And for BJP to make inroads, which means they need to be really polarizing. Even if they, try that, it's pretty difficult because the situation is pretty different. If he is trying to sell the development model to Kerala, I mean, we must remember that it's actually already a most developed state, at least in terms of social indicators. It's a very small state, but it has done pretty well financially. It has done pretty well socially. It doesn't have industries. It's largely through, service industry. It has, but it's a very different example of, pretty different than other states. So, to pitch a development model, people in Kerala would take it with a pinch of salt.
All right, so shifting focus to what has happened in Tamil Nadu, very interesting there as well, where you saw the broader NDA coalition coming together despite all the disagreements there. The NDA alliance right now seems to be formidable in the state, at least, even if we presumably assume that the India alliance, the so-called India alliance with the DMK and the Congress alliance remains intact for 2026, the AIDMK seems to have resources and organizational strength to woo the voters in the Kongu region. Edapadi Palaniswamy also comes from the same region there. They've got other leaders as well, mass leaders as well. The BJP is Naina Nagendran, along with TTV Dinakaran now of the Amma Makkal Muneta Kalam, can possibly woo the voters of the Teva belt. That's right. And, the NDA also has Anbumani Ramadas, the faction of the Patali Makkal Kachi, to woo the voters, consolidate the voters of the 1-year community.
Which is again very dominant in the northern parts. Yeah.
That's right. So the coalition is also expected to deliver a broader consolidation because of the Bharatiya Janata Party, of the Hindu voters as well. So the alliance maybe also be willing to, there's talks among political pundits that they could lose, the minority votes, which can likely be offset by the X factor of this election, which is Actor Vijay. So, on the face of this alliance looks like a fantastic, like a dream alliance. But how do you, what's your take on this?
Yeah. So again, Tamil Nadu, one thing about Tamil Nadu, it always votes very decisively. And we have to see how decisively they vote this time. The thing is, it's true that DMK is facing a certain anti-incumbency, very strong anti-incumbency they are facing. DMK has never won for a second term since for a long time in history. AIDMK, of course, under MGR they won, I think 3 terms, and Jayalalitha at least 2 terms. So they have done this in the past, but DMK never has. So if Stalin was really able to pull it off, it would have been an extraordinary achievement. It looked as if on paper, basically, till yesterday, DMK was a very, very strong alliance. And something dramatically has happened last 1 week. In politics, things do move very fast. And today, what you saw on stage, Edapadi, sharing the dais with
TTV
Dinakaran of AIMK is actually a very pretty significant development, because what was happening was AIDMK traditionally comprises of these 2 major caste groupings, one having a very strong base in Kongu region, what you said, it's basically western part of Tamil Nadu, and the other one coming from the southern part of Tamil Nadu. In southern part is what basically the
Madurai and
yeah, so that's where TTV Dinakaran and OPS, the former chief minister, and basically he's Dinakaran is a nephew of Shashikala, who was very close to Jayalalitha. So this combination has already won. That's why AIADMK was, and it is the largest party, and it could in the past win a lot of elections. But what seemed after the arrival of EPS and his, insistence that he will be the only chief of the party, and his refusal to accept others, which resulted in gradually leaders quitting, which included T.T. Dinakaran. He formed his own party. Shashikala was out. So was OPS, who was expelled. So, and anybody else who rebelled or even raised, the concern that, we need to bring all these elements together, Edappadi resisted. And that's been the story. But today what happened with Prime Minister sitting in the middle, you could see TTV Dinakar on the one side and Edappadi
on the other side.
And not just that, TTP Dinakaran coming on stage and actually saying that, pledging that he and his party will be completely backing NDA in elections, which is led by AIADMK. So, which is a very interesting development. Again, they have a very, the alliance also includes PMK, Patali Makkal Kachi, which is a huge, base, though their a performance of that community with PMK has not been very encouraging, but the community has a large vote share.
Base, yeah, that's right.
Large base. Much of a part of it's not homogeneous as elsewhere. A chunk of it is also in DMK, but still, geographically, as a caste combination, it is certainly a formidable, development, a formidable alliance on paper as of now. Because how does this alliance chemistry actually works on the ground, whether actually the vote share happens, is what is to be seen as far as the AIADMK is concerned. Because these leaders have been for long, fighting each other, and whether, this one appearance on stage will transform dramatically the supporters coming and actually helping the other candidate is a big question, because within this NDA coalition, AIADMK still has the majority of seats. So which means AIADMK is basically dependent on these smaller partners for transfer of votes. And AIADMK's vote also need to transfer to those people. So how this thing works on the ground is a big question. But if Edappadi is able to revoke the memories of MGR and is able to revoke the memories of Jayalalitha, and try to bring all the cadre together, it would be. So it's basically we have to wait and see how it progresses now and onwards. But certainly the development today has come as a big boost for BJP. So BJP wasn't looking at this election, in that sense. They were largely doing a backseat driving here.
Yeah.
But it is true that BJP played a much bigger role in putting this alliance together than AIADMK.
That's right, yeah.
Home Minister Amit Shah very actively camped here 2 days. I think things started changing when Amit Shah came last time, didn't meet Edappadi. He met his number 2 in the party. SP
Velumani, that's right, yeah.
He met,
and Edappadi immediately went to Delhi.
And then he immediately went to Delhi. So something has transpired after that. And then before Modi came, they could seal 2 quick alliances. One was with PMK and the other is AMK, which yesterday it happened. So basically these things are beginning to fall in line, falling into place for the NDA alliance. But like I still said, there are a lot of creases which still needs to be ironed out, and therefore it depends. Now things will boil down to the seat sharing and other things. So there is still some distance.
That's right.
Traveled. But on the other hand, the DMK alliance on paper it's been pretty strong. But they have also been hearing noises from Congress saying that we would like to go. But I think Congress has also been told that, look, if you start thinking like that, we have been a very strong associate of yours in India alliance. If you pull out of this alliance, we could pull out of that alliance as well. So I think that will make Congress also rethink, because of course again Congress has a problem whether they should stay as a tailender or also have an aspiration that. But aspiration is one, having to build a cadre ground up is something else. I don't think the party has managed to do anything. So it's a difficult thing for Congress party to break away from them. And the other thing is, like you said, TVK, whether it will be X factor in the elections. The thing is, it's TVK basically which actually brought in, a sense of to get all other parties.
A discomfort?
No, not discomfort. It was able to raise their aspiration by saying that if you join us, we'll give you share in power. So this message, all these smaller partners took back to their major alliance partners. So for instance, VCK, which is part of DMK, Congress, which is part of DMK.
A bargaining power maybe.
So they had a bargaining power. They could go back and say, look, you should give us a share in power. And similarly, late Vijayakant's party run by his wife, Premilata, they too, started talking to both sides.
That's
At
right.
one point, even Dinakaran was talking to both sides. But I think now gradually these things are falling into place. So it'll be interesting to see whether what kind of pitch Vijay makes. So the problem with Vijay is that even if he wants to make an alliance, he's not been very forthcoming, and he's not been holding one-on-one meeting with major leaders. And big leaders from big political parties are not going to talk to number 2 and 3 in his party. They would like to have a one-to-one meeting, and that kind of thing hasn't happened. So he has taken a plunge, but yet he has to travel a distance. So that's where it stands.
Amid these political rhetorics, also we see is shades of and hues of federal flashpoints as well. Prime Minister Modi accused Pinarayi Vijayan of hindering Kerala's development by opposing and delaying centrally sponsored schemes. He brought in Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana and PM Shri, schools programs. This rhetoric also not limited to Kerala. Chief Minister M.K. Stalin also had put out a combative tweet even before Prime Minister landed in Chennai for the Maduranthakam NDA meeting. Where Stalin said, obviously he brought in the center state, the fiscal flashpoints and so on. He also, in fact, his campaign for this election season is also about Tamil Nadu Thalai Guniya Vidamatum, a clear assertion of federal pride. But whom do you think seems to have a larger leverage when it comes to these narratives?
Look, it's pretty complicated. This is the pitch which BJP is making in both the states. Which actually not just these two states, which Prime Minister Modi has been doing in other states also. That one is we are fighting corruption. We'll give better governance. So these are two issues. The third is alongside a lot of populist move. Basically, if you look at what happened in Bihar, quickly direct money transfers were made to women there. So that's become now a standard, item in the playbook of how to fight these elections. So you would hear those kind of things also coming along. And the pitch which PM made basically in both these states is along the same lines. And that's where the centrally assisted, plans plays a crucial role. Because when state government has its own programs, and some of these programs which are being devised now already existed in both the states. See, for instance, in Tamil Nadu, for a while, they've been doing all the freebie, or free, for instance, free, rice, or there are a whole lot of host of other things which they've been experimenting.
Free television, free mixer, free grinders, free fans.
Whole lot of things for a very long time. And they all have been named after the local chief minister or the political party here. Now, some of these schemes, if the center tries to, appropriate, people certainly do not like it. The problem is the 16th Finance Commission recommendations have been submitted to the President. Now, what comes out of that is a big question, because there has been a constant complaint by the states, which is basically a federal issue, that transfer of, so there is a divisible
devolution of funds.
The devolution of funds do not happen the way it should. What the states get is not what they deserve. So this at least Tamil Nadu has been making a lot of noise, saying that whatever revenue we contribute, we have not been getting back our share, which is not equitable. And also centrally assisted programs are tied with a lot of other conditionalities. So they've been constantly complaining this, and therefore they manage both the Dravidian parties over the years. It's not just now, for decades. So they've been able to create a certain, certain narrative in the minds of people that center always takes more and gives less as far as Tamil Nadu is concerned, and therefore this is again a narrative attempt which is being made. So when such federal issues come, I think look at the recent issue, the way the governors are being dealt in all the three southern states, both in Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Karnataka too. So people see through these things. So as when federal issues come, certainly southern states have an upper hand.
Thank you very much. Very insightful talking to you. Thank you.